Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars. The movie review I have for you today is War Machine, the newest Netflix movie starring Brad Pitt, and it tells the story of a four-star general who is given the task of finishing the job in Afghanistan, so to speak, in whichever way he sees is the best solution. Now, when I saw the trailer for this several months ago, I thought it looked really good and really fun and really interesting, and it kind of presented as a bit of a comedy, really. It certainly appeared that way to me, to be a comedy. Now, after watching the movie War Machine, I have to say that I feel a bit conflicted, really, and I do feel a little bit deceived because what we get here is not exactly what was advertised. And what we actually get is like a satire on the ridiculous situation that is happening in Afghanistan, and it's more of a political documentary, really, on the ridiculousness of it all. And they do that in a number of ways, and included in there is some what you could only really describe as light comedy. So I kind of felt a little bit watching this film. It was a bit disjointed. It kind of reminded me of the film I watched recently, Colossal, whereas I felt that was a decent movie. It was conflicted in that it didn't know whether it was a monster movie, a comedy, or a dark drama. And I kind of got that impression with this. It didn't really have an identity, and it didn't really nail down any of the things it tried to do, whether that be the drama, the comedy, even the satire. Really, it didn't excel in any of those areas. But saying that, okay, the movie starts off with Brad Pitt, and his trusted aides, if you like, arriving in Afghanistan after the last general was fired from his position because he couldn't deal with the situation there. And Brad Pitt comes in, and he is initially told that he has to give an assessment on the situation in Afghanistan and what he needs to ensure that the mission is a success. So essentially, he goes on a tour of the country to meet with the political leaders, go to the army bases, etc., etc. Meet with all the other allied forces over there, like the UK and the French and the German and the Belgian forces, and make an assessment as to what is the issue there and what is required to finish the job in Afghanistan. He does that, and that's like the first quarter of the movie. He does that, he puts his assessment in, and basically the assessment says, I need more troops, which is the first thing they told him, the Americans, when they got there, the politicians, you can't have more troops. And his assessment at the end of his tour is, I need 40,000 troops. And they basically aren't happy about this. So he decides to, through the advice of one of his aides, is to like bring journalists in and like leak his report, and which annoys a lot of people, especially in the US. But it gets him what he needs. It gets him most of the troops he wants, but also he has to go to Europe then to get the rest of the troops by sweet talking all the European leaders to get the extra 10,000 troops that he needs. And that is it, really. It's it's a very it's hard. It's really hard to categorize this movie because it's not. It is a political movie, but it's not a hard-hitting political movie because all they're really doing is holding the mirror up and saying this scenario in Afghanistan is completely and utterly ridiculous and it's never going to work. But we know that. We could have told them that, and they're kind of saying, yeah, we kind of get that now. But the performances are all fine. Brad Pitt's fine in the role. It's a very odd performance from Brad Pitt, but it's a performance that is enjoyable nonetheless. Um, but ultimately, I have to say, I do think I was disappointed a little bit by the film. I was hoping for a little bit more. I mean, the about 3/4 of the way through the movie, when he finally starts putting his plan in action, you think you're going to see a little bit of action, um, and he's very light on that front as well. Um, so it is a hard film to judge this film because it's not a bad film. I just kind of feel a little bit deceived by it. It's not as funny as I thought it were going to be. There's little to no action in it at all. The drama is fairly light, and I'm not really sure what they were aiming for here. If they were going for satire, it didn't go heavy enough down that route either. But interesting movie though, nevertheless.